Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of the Speed Racer Mach 5 build from Polar Lights in what I'm guessing is 1/25th scale. Let me just give you a little update on where we are and some of the extra details that I've added. Okay, first thing we're going to look at is the interior. I've painted the interior in a base of red oxide primer from Tamiya, and then over that I've laid a light coat of Tamiya flat red to give the interior the red coloring that the car on the show has, while allowing shadows to show through from the darker red oxide primer. This gives you a pretty good effect of it being a much more realistic red than what you would see if you just used the bright flat red on the interior. Gives you shadows, gives you a little more realistic appearance. On top of that, I've also included photo etch parts for the radio climate control system, which you never really saw this on Speed Racer, but I thought it would just give us a. Let's see if we can get the focus on there. Let's see. Let's focus. Come on, focus. A little tough at times to get this camera to cooperate. There we go. And there you can see the climate control systems, the radio, and a speaker in the center console. All of those parts are photo etched from Model Car Garage using their kit MCG 2064, which brings a wide variety of radio faces, AC gauge, AC vents, audio equipment, and you can just choose and pick what you want for whatever your particular model that you're building. Here you can also did a little bit of detail painting on the center console. Not really sure what all the little bits and pieces are, but just to add a little visual interest. Here you can see the seats have shading on them in the pleats of the leather, just to add a little shadows, give them a little more realism. Now, as a snap tight kit, I was a little surprised at the amount of parts on this interior. I sort of expected a much simpler build. Actually has a very nice set of pedals, which are very nicely cast, a steering column, shaft. The dashboard is in two parts, the upper and lower part, the two seats, the floor, and the door cards. Here, which I have yet to install, as I'm still working on a few more details for it. The interior is a multi-piece setup that I would not have expected from a snap-tight kit. Pleasantly surprised by that. Now let's take a look at the steering wheel. This is Speed steering wheel with, of course, the iconic buttons for all the different modes that the car has. It's painted in the same Tamiya red and oxide primer, and then using the Molotov chrome pen for the spokes in the center of the steering wheel, with the details highlighted with Tamiya panel line paint. And here we have the steering column with shift lever using the same paints and method for coloring. And here we see one of the pretty neat details that comes with the kit, which is Speed's messenger drone, which sits right in here once the interior is installed in the car. Here I did the painting with Tamiya titanium silver with a dusting of Tamiya bronze to give some shadows and shading to the bird. And gives it a much more interesting look with the shades and the shadow. So I think this interior is shaping up very nicely. Very happy with the way it looks. Photo etch details really, I think, work nicely in here. Alright, now let's take a look at a few other things. But before we go, let you know that if you're going to build this kit, some of the items do snap in nicely and some do not. The pedal assembly, I found, will not snap in completely, which actually turns out to be beneficial because it gives more of a slant to the pedal assembly, so they come out further, more in the positioning of the real pedal assembly in a real car. So I actually like the way that, like the fact that it didn't fit completely in, and looks a bit more realistic to me that way. Alright, now let's take a look at the chassis. The chassis was a very simple build. It was just a plain, from what I've seen on the show, the underside of the car was black with gray highlights for some of the details. And I've seen a few builds of this car and people paint the underside white, which is perfectly fine if that's what you want. But I'm trying to stick, at least coloring wise, to what is on the actual Speed Racer animated show. So what I did was I painted it black. I painted the X-brace for the frame in titanium silver. Dusted it with a little bit of titanium gold, and then again using the bronze to add shadows and a little bit of discoloration. Then I added a bunch of photo etched parts to the undercarriage to give it a bit more detail and make it a lot more visually interesting from underneath. As when you're looking at the car now, you have all these different details to look at. Just adding a bunch of greebles, and I kind of like the way it looks. Then did a little bit of weathering on it, and then painted the very simplified control arms. Add a little shading. These are painted with Tester's flat aluminum, and then shaded with a little bit of the Tamiya bronze. And that gives us, I think, a much more interesting chassis to look at than what would have been normally there. And I just built it completely stock. Here we have the upper portion, the upper control arms for the front suspension. These are painted Tamiya titanium gold with the highlights of the bronze. That basically sits here as in the glue together version of this kit. There are extra pieces which contain brake rotors and a spindle assembly, which are not included in this kit, as this is just a snap together one. And that would be why they have these simplified control arms here that would actually attach to a spindle and brake assembly. Now, I've also got the wheels and tires, started putting them together. These are the wheels with a little bit of height. What I did here, I drilled out the spokes in the wheels, the holes, to give it a more realistic appearance, as they were solid and you couldn't see through them. Now we actually have wheels we can see through. in the glue together kit, they did come with open wheels, as the glue together kit had brakes, which this one does not, but I like the look of the open wheels better, so that's what I went with. Now here we have the rear, which again, in the glue together kit, there would be an engine here that you would assemble and paint. This version of the kit doesn't have that. So what we're doing here is just building the housing, which then has the rear wall of the interior attached to it. Now, according to the instructions, this should just snap into here. That's not going to happen. And this is one of the few negatives I've got with this kit. I found a few issues with it, such as some of the moldings are not correct. As in this exhaust pipe, which I noticed after I painted it, isn't molded very well, as it's got pits in the exhaust, and which I'm going to fit to the car. If it doesn't show, then it's going to stay that way. If not, then I have to redo it. But there are pits here in the plastic. The car actually came with seat belts, which I didn't plan on using anyway. But again, you can see some of the poor molding, as the seat belt here is missing one end. That's what it should look like. That's what it does look like. Now I'm going to put actual fabric seat belts in this car, and so I won't be using that, but just something to be aware of when you're getting this kit, that there are a few issues with it as far as the way the kit is made. But other than that, it actually is a pleasant little kit to build. Extremely simple, unless you decide to overcomplicate things the way I do. But it's fun, and it's gonna make a really good looking Speed Racer Mach 5. Here's a car with its first couple of coats of white primer, getting ready for paint. Just have to do a little wet sanding to smooth everything out. And then it gets a first coat of paint. Alright guys, that's it for now. That's the current status of the project. I thought I was going to be a little bored with this kit and just be done with it really quickly, but I'm actually finding I'm really enjoying it. It's a fun little kit, and opens itself up to a bit of customization, which is my favorite part of the entire build process. So if you're really into Speed Racer, you can go for the Snap Fit. If you want a more detailed, a little more challenging kit, go for the glue kit if you can find it. And build it up. As I stated in my other videos, the glue kit and the Snap kit are based off the same molds. So the body, the chassis, and the interior are going to be exactly the same. The main difference is that the Snap Together kit doesn't have the extra parts that come with the glue kit. Alright, well that's it for this video and the update of everything I've done so far. I guess I will see you guys on the next one. And that's it for now. Remember to like and subscribe this video if you like, and if you haven't subscribed it. It's fun. Alright, see you soon.